So, I think like many others, I'm a fan of Strawberry Shortcake. Her and her friends are some pop culture icons akin to our equestrian friends, the main six. However, unlike MLP, I've known Strawberry Shortcake for a little longer in my life. Well, you'd think it'd be from seeing the show randomly when changing channels from time to time, or my cousin's massive themed kitchen and tea set that I never even saw used. Honey, we've got guests around, bring out the fine china. But my biggest memory of the berry was while I was on vacation in Florida when I was really young. I only really remember vague memories of the whole thing. From the PS2 I found with Jack and Daxter in there, this big pier where my dad went fishing a lot and I got bored just sitting around. I'm pretty sure we also went to Disney World, but I barely remember anything of it. Yet strangely, the strongest memory I have out of everything was randomly getting a McDonald's on one of the evenings, where in the backseat of this big ass car we were renting, I asked to get a Happy Meal with a girl's toy. Because it's back in the era of gender divided toys, and I always wanted the pretty girls' toys for no specific reason whatsoever. It just so happened the girls' toys for this month or so were Strawberry Shortcake, and while there were toys, it was these lip balms that I mainly remember. We slide open their hat and get their fruit-scented lip balm. I managed to get Orange Blossom, and I loved her. She smelled like real citrus to me. Listen, kid me wasn't going to know the difference between artificial scent and a real scent, so it was the same thing to me. Had this cool clip that I could attach to my bag and carry around on, and I'm pretty sure I lost her on the flight back to England, and I just never saw her again. Anyway, this is like a really long tangent to say I've always had a soft spot for Strawberry Shortcake in my life. For those who might not be in the know, Strawberry Shortcake is a multimedia franchise currently owned by WildBrain that has spanned over the decades starting from the 70s, ranging in multiple eras of shows, toys, video games, music. Miss Berry's done it all. The main premise changes depending on each generation, but it can easily be summarized as Strawberry Shortcake and her fruit-themed friends having fun, learning lessons, and going on adventures. And I think that's what I loved most about the series. Thanks to its long run, you have so many different and expansive generations. The 80s style has held up like fine wine. All these character designs are just perfection, and the TV specials are just so adorable. Like, how could you not love her? She's just one berry tall. However, I can't hide my bias here. The original 2003 series is my jam. Like, whenever it comes to influential Y2K kids media, this is hands down one of the elders, and we have to give her her flowers. The style felt as if it had grown with the characters, instead of looking so wildly different. All the fashion was just peak 2000s, and all of the backgrounds and locations, oh,
I want to go to there.
Take me there, Strawberry, please, I want to go. I want to live in a big apple house, this isn't fair. And then, in 2007, they grew up, and they all got slight redesigns. Which, hands down, I know this is a little controversial, but they ate this up. Miss Berry, you will always be famous. Then, in 2009, we got Berry Bitty Adventures, the first one to actually come with a name and title. And from what I've seen online, it's the more popular and talked about generation, which is probably just coming from the kids who grew up watching this, as they've probably become young adults now. Wow, the passage of time is really scary. But to be honest, at first I wasn't too big of a fan of this generation. I thought the 3D animation didn't translate the style the best. Like, this looks a lot more Shopkins to me than Strawberry Shortcake.
People say we're alike, they say we've got the same hair, we talk about...
And I've always hated how stripped back the designs became in favor of a more uniform, feminine style for everyone, which is probably Hasbro's influence, and making the designs easier to make toys of. Also, why is Orange Blossom lighter? Oh, you thought I was going to skip that elephant in the room? No, let's cover that. What happened there? The concept art didn't look like that. So what happened here? However, let me remind you, I did say at first, because to be honest, this gen has really started to grow on me. While I think characters having the same silhouettes is a little bit boring, you cannot deny that this Strawberry is incredibly iconic. Like, she has that fit on. I see the color combos, I know that's Miss Strawberry Shortcake. Not to mention some of the later introduced side characters, they really cooked here. Sour and Sweet Grapes are literal perfection in character design. That, untouched. Hang that in the Louvre, this is a work of art. Everyone needs to see this. And while I didn't like the 3D animation, it was the 2D animation and illustrations that really nailed the style. There's this really nice emphasis on colors, weight, and movement. Like, I still love looking back at these illustrations to this day. Despite a long break, there is one more gen that came after 2009 that I have some thoughts on, but I'm just gonna stick a pin in that cake for now. Just like right here, in the middle. because I'm the birthday boy. And quickly clarify a few things about our Strawberry Girls' origins, because they're not as simple like other franchises I've talked about before, and things can get a little confusing going over the history. See, Strawberry Shortcake was originally concepted? Is that a word? Would it be conceived? No, no, we don't do that one, we're sticking with concepted. She was concepted at a greeting card company, American Greetings, as a Valentine's card which featured a character designed by freelancer Barbie Sargent. Now, she didn't actually have a name yet, only being referred to as Girl with a Daisy or Strawberry Girl. Apparently, the card was quite popular among consumers, so art director at the time, Rex Connors, asked Sargent to create 4 more cards, with more of a strawberry-ish outfit, which she completed in July of 1977, sending off 4 illustrated and colored cards to American Greetings that tested really well with audiences and marked the creation of our titular berry character. With this as a layout, American Greeting then asked one of their other employees, Muriel, who was asked to design a more ragdoll-like character. But it was Muriel's work that created the strawberry design we're more familiar with today and marks her 80s era. In fact, she went on to design 32 more characters, and what started as a collection of themed cards expanded into a whole franchise. Muriel is an amazing artist, and her influence cannot be understated in the direction Strawberry Shortcake went. Yet, because she was a work for hire at the company back in the 70s, she never received a single royalty for all her work and contribution to the IP. But this never stopped her love for art, as she also worked on concepting and updating the Care Bears, freelancing for companies such as Fisher-Price and Disney, and she's still active online too, posting art and answering questions, so definitely check out her accounts and shop too, all will be linked in the description below. However, as important Muriel is in the creation of the series, I also can't leave out additional artists like Cindy Maya Patton and Janet Jones, who created additional characters added later, Francis Karyotakis, who painted a large majority of the series' artworks, and lastly, Lynn Edwards, who was the editor, and helped flesh out the characters and stories we got that we know to this day. I have to admit, a lot of this is just me paraphrasing from Wikipedia, but I think it's important to highlight all the different people that helped create something we know and love to this day, as not everyone is still active like Muriel or easy to find online, but that doesn't mean they should just be ignored or wiped from the story. Now, this is still a pretty quick and not even complete explanation of Strawberry's creation, so if you want a more concise and well put together timeline, I'd recommend The Evolution of Strawberry Shortcake by Modern Girls, as well as The History of Strawberry Shortcake by Lucid Poppy. And of course, can't forget channel staple of recommendations, The Weird History of Strawberry Shortcake by Darling Dolls. Once again, all will be linked down below. That, you could also just read the respective Wikipedia and fandom pages, but also, like, be warned, people could just make stuff up or lie and not really cite things correctly. You think someone would do that? Lie on a fandom page? Also, I'm not even daring to cover the changing of hands of owners, as well as the changing of hands with toy and show distribution, because it went through so many different hands and companies like THQ, Deke Entertainment, Bandai, Playmates. Like, there are a lot of companies, and this is just an art video after all, and I've spent like way too long talking about tangents and history, and I should be drawing right now. Okay, let's get back on track. Where's that pin I left? Okay, let me just... My God! So, The Last Generation is the latest one, starting in 2021, Strawberry Shortcake burying the big city. And you'd think after a 7-year disappearance, more noise would have been made. Yet, it seems like it was met with a collective meh. And I'm a little sad about that, because the show is cute. I think it's a fun premise having Strawberry move to the Big Apple and have her make friends. Everyone has their own unique styles going on again, berry puns are back and better than ever, and there's a lot of music. Like, a lot of music. None that I'm going to play because I'm not playing around with Strawberry's copyright team, but it's really good, you should listen to some of it. It really feels like they took a big inspiration from Friendship is Magic, with this very simple style but big colourful world, slow building relationships that change dynamics over time, and a lot of catchy songs. And while yeah, MLP might have done it better, I think Strawberry's doing as much as it can with a clearly smaller budget, and I think it's cool. I don't know, this is clearly a show meant for toddlers and kids, and I'm in my 20s, so I'm kind of hitting a limit here before I seem like the guy that only watches Goo Goo Gaga baby shows. Guys, it's way deeper than you think. This show's for adults. They literally said heck. The show got 3 seasons and 4 specials, but it's just sort of sitting there now with no big new announcements in a while, and literally no toys except for these cheap looking plushies of half the cast, despite literally showing off concepts and pictures for more merchandise and toys. And clearly the reason why everyone's character designs were simplified for the toy aspect. Yet do you see any toys? That's right, good answer. It's a lollipop, you're doing great. But here we are now, and finally revealing the true intention of this video. We're not going to redesign Berry in the Big City. You probably guessed from the title and thumbnail, that might have spoiled it a little bit. See, my initial plan with this video was to redesign Berry in the big city, and it's something I've actually been thinking about since 2023. Damn, my art looks mid as hell. However, over time, I kinda just realized most of my problems with these designs were that they were just desaturated or lacked fun patterns and textures. Like, seriously, if I just brighten their colors or slap on some extra textures, bam, already these look great to me. And to make a video based around that would be really short or just unexciting. And that's not what most of you subscribe for. So, considering the weird limbo state Strawberry Shortcake's in now, with no new seasons, but also no confirmation of it being cancelled and rebooted yet, I decided it'd be fun to mix things up and pitch my own Strawberry Shortcake generation. Yeah, bit of a long-winded intro that could have cut down a lot of setup, but isn't that what you're here for? Me rambling about a new topic each vid?
Clap if you care. All right, let's move on.
For my generation's idea, I want to present to you all Shortcake. Shortcake is a kids to preteen animated show set in 2006, following our Berry squad as teenagers, getting up to various antics, pursuing different passions and hobbies, and teaching an important lesson or message from time to time. Think the likes of 16, Braceface, or Barbie Mycene. But without further ado, why don't we hop into the world of Shortcake, shall we? Welcome to the world of Shortcake. It's spring of 2006, and our favourite berry, Strawberry Shortcake, is saying goodbye to her old hometown of Berrywood, as well as her friends and family, as the Shortcakes prepare to move from their rural Midlands town to the coastline, specifically the bustling city of Fizzle Cove. Now, Fizzle Cove is very different from the quaint and nature-packed countryside Strawberry's been used to most of her life. It's a bright and summery place, lots of areas in development as the new mayor pushes to expand this overlooked town into a real city on the map. However, it's still got a long way to go. But despite that, it's got its popular spots, from the respectable Liana's Wood High, which Strawberry will be attending soon. A half-built mall that seems to be popular with businesses and markets despite being incomplete. The boardwalk down by the beach that has a great view of the sunset. A cafe shack called Zest Fresh. Wonder who that could be for. And lastly, her new home, where Strawberry will have a fresh start. But who exactly is Strawberry Shortcake? And who are all her new friends that she'll meet? Well, why don't we find out? Starting us off, we have everyone's favourite berry, Strawberry Shortcake. One of our protagonists, of course. I mean, the show is literally her name. And who sets off the story when we see her and her family moving to Fizzle Cove. For her concept, I wanted to present someone trendy and bubbly, but also carrying over some of her usual motifs, such as an argyle pattern, stitching, and a strawberry hat. Since the setting is 2006, it meant I could run free with some Y2K fashion, so I translated her strawberry hat as a baker's boy cap, gave her flared out spiky hair with some streaks dyed magenta, a double layered blouse and some chunky bangles, flared out jeans rolled up at the ends, and some off-brand trainers. And for her colours, I wanted to take it back to the 80s and 2003 again, returning the signature red and ginger hair. Not that I'm opposed to her magenta and pink colour schemes, but rather I thought Strawberry worked better when she read as a red character that wears pink, as opposed to a pink character that wears red, if you get what I mean. Just complements her nicely. That and Strawberries are red, not pink. So... Also, as much as I love her design, I have to admit, she's really infringing on her long-distance sister's identity, Holly Hobby. I didn't even intend to basically do a knockoff version of the same fit, but we've ended up here and I swear it looks different in the final picture. Holly, please don't sue us. But how about we hop into our character? Strawberry Shortcake is a character I think we all know, or at least this far into the video I hope you've started to get an idea about her. She's charismatic, outgoing, and always lending a helping hand. So I wanted to keep those core aspects. Strawberry's always been someone who's sure in herself, and therefore thrives in many different environments, able to socialize easily and make friends, as she's just an honest person who wears her heart on her sleeve, and enjoys the hobbies she has, as well as trying new ones even if they don't go too well. Because of this, it often feels like people turn to her for guidance or advice on what to do in certain situations, as if she's the group leader, which Strawberry isn't too fond of, as she actually prefers not to stick out or be the one everyone looks up to. Instead, enjoying being a team player, helping give others the confidence to express themselves and prove they're just as capable at doing things on their own and can even lead themselves. Some of her favourite hobbies include gardening, which she loved to do with her grandparents in Berrywood, being taught how to attend to and arrange flowers by her grandfather, and the importance of nature and how to farm vegetables by her grandmother. Both she's having to do at a much smaller scale in plant pots now, since Fizzle Cove has a very different ground quality compared to her old home, so she's going to have to study up. She also does baking, which is something she loved to do since she was a toddler, collecting different fruits from the garden and creating something sweet everyone can share and eat together. It's because of this she ends up joining the gardening club at school early on. However, over time, Strawberry starts to realize that she enjoys gardening more for herself and as a break, and would rather use her after-school club time to learn more about fashion and textiles, something she's always had an interest in, and is considering pursuing further education in fashion design. So, as mentioned many times now, the story begins with Strawberry and her family moving homes. This was because of her mum's work, having left her previous business job and taking a gamble investing into her sister's new startup company. Not wanting to keep the family split apart, the decision was made to all move together back to her mum's hometown, which has developed quite a bit since. This leads Strawberry to seeing more of her mum's side of the family, that being her aunt, uncle, and grandmother, as well as her cousins whenever they're visiting back from university. Despite being a little weary about moving, the one thing she's most happiest about is getting to see her other grandmother more, remembering her as a free spirit who would go swimming or surfing at any chance she had, something she still kind of does, but due to age she's a little more laid back now. Like any other teen, Strawberry loves to keep up to date on the latest fashion trends, or celebrity gossip through Berry Teen magazine. It's what inspires her to alter her clothes and express herself more, and also cut her own hair, since there's no way anyone else would know how to do it right. That, and she's still having to do chores to work off dyeing her hair without mum or dad's permission. Plus, she loves the new slider phone that she got for Christmas. It's similar to a BlackBerry Torch, but in pink and green, and obviously it's called a blueberry, but she refers to it as a strawberry. She loves her little sister Apple Dumpling, and tries her best to make time to play with her, just like when they were little. I imagine them having a similar vibe to Barbie and Chelsea's relationship. While there's a bit of a gap in their ages, Apple looks up to Strawberry and wants to be just like her, and in turn, Strawberry does her best to include her little sister into her hobbies from time to time, teaching her all sorts of different things that she's learned and passing it on to the next generation. And here's Strawberry all finished up.
Wow, take a look at that! Is this uber cool or what? I saw a part shop on our way here. They're sure to have some.
And I think she turned out great. I love her bright colors, and I think the silhouette works well. And at least for me, I think the jeans turned out amazing. Like, this is the best pair I think I've ever drawn. If I did have to change anything, I think I would have just made the blouse a more solid color instead of having this silky translucent part, just to better connect everything together. But that's a minor gripe, and overall, I'm really happy with her. Although, it does feel like something is missing. For someone into fashion and so expressive, it only feels wrong having one outfit.
To the salon!
Now, Miss Strawberry here is a bit of a fashion icon, always changing up her wardrobe to suit the occasion, and one thing I loved a lot about 2000 shows was how some of the characters would change their outfits from time to time. So, to honor that, and because I had so many different concepts for outfits, I made some alts. For a first alt, we have a more summery look, sporting a strawberry visor, some layered form-fitting shirts, flared denim skirt, and some chunky sandals. I also wanted to change up her hair, so I gave her these cute pigtails. And for a second alt, she has more of a trendy look, sporting a newsboy cap, hoop earrings, a cropped t-shirt with these long stripy sleeves underneath, some flared capris, topped off with these cute heels. And for this hairstyle, I went with a messy ponytail. And the great thing about making multiple outfits is you can mix and match them all together, creating all sorts of new combinations. But seriously, with that rug pull out the way, I hope you like how she looks and you love the outfits. Next up on our list, what if it isn't Huckleberry Pie? Another one of our protagonists, and one of Strawberry's oldest friends. For his concept, I want to take some inspiration from the 2003 series, and have him be this skater surfer boy, but that had this really kind look to him. Now, I'm always drawing Y2K inspired girls, so I thought it'd be fun to try drawing some Y2K men's fashion. So I gave him a sporty visor in between his collection of curly hair that I wanted to look similar to his 80s yarn hairstyle. A baggy layered look with a big t-shirt over a regular striped shirt, featuring a berry pattern referencing his 2009 shirt. Some regular cargos, messily tied up sneakers, and of course, kind of a skater boy without a skateboard. For his colours, I actually mixed his palette from Berry Bitty Adventures and Berry in the Big City together, taking the navy, green and beige that I liked for his outfit, but also bringing in that yellow accent that I think helps connect everything together. As well as his darker skin tone, just because I thought it looked nice and why not? But with the concept explained, why don't we hop into his character? Now, Huckleberry Pie is another staple character, who's appeared in all different iterations of Strawberry Shortcake, mostly due to him filling the role of the boy character, since there really isn't a lot of them in this series. There's like what? Huck, Pie Man, Plum Pudding before they just swapped her gender. I think some of the animals are boys. Yeah, it's a bit slim. which isn't surprising for something that was pushed in the direction of a girls franchise. You're going to want to represent girls and give them figures to look up to. But that's not to say Huck was a bad character. I actually think in most gens he was really lovable, especially in his first where he was a counter to Strawberry Shortcake, way more laid back and will get things done in his own time. But I don't want him to just feel like the boy of the group like he did in Berry Bitty Adventures, but more of the 2003 energy where he just fits in with the group and adds to the cast. With that in mind, I imagine Huck being a sociable and chilled guy, always trying to lighten the mood by being the comedian of the group and cracking jokes. It was a certain Berry that always taught him to be kind, and he still carries that with him to this day, doing his best to hear others out and maybe even lend a helping hand. But only if it's something that he can procrastinate on to the last minute. Although a bit of a jokester, he does put his effort in to seem cool, wanting to be the guy that everyone knows as he skates down the street, but this leads to him hiding parts of himself that he deems uncool, like his interest in science and physics. While maybe a little interesting to him, he just prefers to keep it on the down low. I mean, what pro surfer is into physics? Speaking of surfing, Huck loves it. It was something he could never try back in Berrywood, and while it's a lot of trial and error, that feeling of throwing yourself to the waves and going with the Earth's flow sparked something in him that he never knew. It was Strawberry's grandma who helped teach him. The two ended up getting close since they both cared for Strawberry, as well as needing a surrogate grandparent and grandchild in each other's lives. A fun fact about him is that 2 Christmases ago, he got a PS2, and he'll find any chance to play either Tekken or Tony Hawk against you. Huck is one of Strawberry's oldest and closest friends, having known each other since they were babies thanks to their parents being close. They grew up together in Berrywood and were practically inseparable. However, Huck and his family ended up moving away when he was 8, but that didn't stop the two from being friends, as they now became pen pals, always writing, emailing, or calling one another. They did get to see each other once or twice when Strawberry visited her grandma in Thistle Cove, but that was a rarity. And Huck didn't have the best time adjusting to his new home, being an only child thrown into a new city. But it's thanks to his cousin, Lemon Meringue, that he started to settle in and find new friends like the Pudding Twins or Orange Blossom, as well as new hobbies like his surfing or even skateboarding, which he mainly does because he considers it surfing on land. Having gone through the same sort of move, he's ready to show Strawberry around town and make her feel welcome at her new home, even introducing her to his friend group, anything to make his best friend feel comfortable. However, him befriending Orange Blossom was a bit of a whim, as the two of them live in the same flat block, and it was by chance Huck ran into her on the stairs, singing her Tamagotchi to sleep, as apparently it was a little rowdy. Finding it really funny but also genuine, he just wanted to hang out some more. Huck's phone of choice would also be a BlackBerry. You should know, like Huckleberry, BlackBerry, kinda hand in hand, but it'd be more of a horizontal slider as opposed to Strawberry's vertical slider, similar to a Samsung. But I couldn't really think of a pun name for Samsung, where at least with BlackBerry, it can just be Blueberry to avoid that copyright infringement. And his Huckleberry all finished up.
Relax, dude. It's only a 10-hour flight. Man, how do the Brits channel surf with only 5 TV channels? Hey guys, look what we scored at the flea market.
And I love him. I think he looks like such a little sweetheart. And I was a little worried that the blue, yellow, and green would have mixed well together, being such different and distinct colors. But I think they combined great. The skateboard is a skateboard, you know? The design's on the bottom, and I drew it at an angle where you'd only see the top, so A+ to me for that incredibly dumb mistake. But I thought the stickers on top were at least a cute touch. But just like with Strawberry, I think we could still give Huck some more outfits to wear.
We've got to give me a makeover.
With Huck, I wanted to try and tie in his need to be cool to his fashion sense. So instead of being trendy and wearing what's cool in the current times, he instead tries to stand out by pulling inspiration from other decades, with his first alt being more of a beachy 90s look, wearing a bucket hat, a tank top with a cropped flannel shirt, some baggy jeans that roll up at the ends, and topped up with some more standard flip-flops. Unlike Strawberry, I couldn't really think of much to do with his hair, so it's just sort of the same curly look. For his second alt, we have a more 80s sporty gym look, featuring a sweatband, small gym shirt, shorts, and leg warmers that lead to his off-brand Adidas trainers. Before you ask, no, I don't remember what the 1989 stood for, and yes, it is also bugging me too. Because of the mix of eras going on, I don't think his outfit mix and matches work as well as some of the others. But regardless, I think it still makes for some fun new styles for him, and dare I say, nearly cool. Only nearly though, don't push your luck. Our next character is another staple and fan favorite, including mine, Orange Blossom, our third protagonist and one of Strawberry's brand new friends, and possibly soon to be best friend. For her concept, I really wanted to take her back to her roots of being an artist again, since I feel like some of the last few adaptations really softened that aspect of her, which isn't actually bad considering some of the other changes they made to her. So I made sure she came across as free-spirited, colourful, and cute. Taking notes from 2003, I gave her some big bouncy afro puffs, tied by orange scrunchies made to look like orange peels, some flower hair clips and beads to tie into the blossom part of her name, hoops for a round shape, a long stripy scarf for fun, a cropped denim jacket over a flowery summer dress that she's tied and ribboned around the waist with satin, topped off with some clunky wedge sandals. Colours were also important to me, as I wanted to make sure she kept her skin tone that Berry Bitty Adventures famously dropped the ball on, along with some nice saturated oranges and yellows, as well as some green to tie into an orange leaf, but also the greens that Huck and Strawberry have in their palettes as well. Same thing applies to bring back her more natural hairstyle, as well as the artsy vibe. But with her concept down, let's hop into her character. As I've already said, Orange Blossom is one of Strawberry's new best friends, having been introduced to each other via Huck at the beginning of our story, once she moved into Fizzlecove and all, and the two hit it off pretty fast. With Orange loving Strawberry's style and humble nature, and Strawberry loving Orange's headstrong way of doing things, no matter how big the task is. See, in this iteration, our Orange is a little bit more bold, studious, and passionate, being a little bit more of a chatterbox, but she's just unable to contain her love and passion for things in the world. Whether it be a rundown building, unfinished pavings, or the seagulls and rats fighting in an alleyway, she sees the beauty in all of it and thinks it's fascinating. But even more, it's what fuels her to create her art, in all different forms of it. From drawing, painting, crafting, writing, photography, to even dancing. If it's somewhat creative, Orange has dabbled in it, finding that there's just so many ways to express yourself and create, why box yourself into just one style? Think of her as a jack of all trades. Now whether she's good at all of them is up to interpretation, but isn't that what art's all about? The most beneficial thing about broadening horizons is that she gets to hop between different school clubs every other day, week, or month. And while maybe not technically allowed by school policy, no one really minds. In fact, because of her energy, they usually ask Orange to help out with various performances, fairs, or exhibits, which she'll always say yes to, since she never wants to let anyone down, and is always happy to volunteer. But even despite her high energy, Orange has her limits, and she needs at least a weekend to crash out from time to time. Something that could be a little more common if she just learned to be more honest and say no. But not wanting to be a burden to others, she'll push on through, maybe for better, or maybe for worse. However, Orange doesn't just volunteer at school, she also offers help around town, usually doing the occasional part-time job whenever needed to help fund her creative endeavours, as well as a new phone if she managed to break it again. So you might sometimes spot her at a cafe, arcade, or even working reception at a veterinary. Sort of like Rainy Rodriguez in Austin and Alley, always something going on but never questioned too much by the others.
Guess who got a job at the pet store? Guess who got a job at the mug store? Guess who got a job at the yo-yo car?
Although her favourite jobs to accept are at clothing stores, thanks to the nice discounts she gets, which helps fill her wardrobe. Which, speaking of her fashion, her style is a little like her art. Flowy, patterned, and bright. Usually trying something current or a little out of season, with a fun experimentative item thrown in. While maybe all artsy and free-spirited, even she loves a bit of trending fashion now and then. Like the others in the crew, Orange has her own sport that she prefers, that being roller skating. It was actually Huck that got her into skating at all, as he wanted someone to skate around town with, since it's a bit boring on your own. And while a little hesitant at first, Orange quickly took to it, seeing the freedom that came with being able to fly through the town, and being able to get to her projects and jobs faster. It wasn't long before she was even able to outrace him, although who would have thought that roller skates would be faster than a skateboard? Maybe he should have thought that race a bit more through. But it means unless Orange is catching a ride with someone else, you often catch her whizzing around, especially on the boardwalk, which is her favourite spot to skate, watching the sun set across the ocean at a high tide. Orange's phone of choice is a more simple brick Nokia phone. As mentioned earlier with her jobs, she was a little accident prone with her previous phones, either dropping them, getting paint on them, or worst cases, crushing them. Her allowance could only go so far and through so many replacements, before she decided it might just be better to buy a supposed unbreakable phone, and it seems to be working, at least for now. But just because it might be a little older, it doesn't hold her back from styling it to look cute, and she can still call and text her friends, which is what matters, although a better camera quality would be nice. Maybe she could just try a newer phone one more time. Oop, never mind. And here's Orange all finished up.
It's my favorite series. It's about this girl named Lisa, and she's a witch. I mean, she doesn't know she's a witch at first, and she has a familiar, which is sort of like the spirit companion that everyone in the world has.
And I think she looks really cute. I definitely love how her jacket and hair turned out, especially with the little indent part being orange slices, and especially the floral embroidery in the front of it. While not a nitpick, I do wonder if I maybe should have pushed for more of a boho chic fashion sense for her, to better tie into her arts and free spirit vibe, as I feel like I went all in on giving her a skirt just to break up her silhouette from others, so now her overall outfit reads a little more simple and plain to me. Maybe I'm just being too critical, but I still think she looks cute, and of course, we still have the chance to give her some extra outfits.
Makeover, 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 makeover. Yeah.
With Orange, I really wanted to show her range of style and practicality. So for her first alt, she's a bit more traditional Y2K, sporting a repurposed shirt into a crop top, some flared jeans adorned with flower patches and tied with a cord, some thick wedge pink loafers, and a half up, half down wavy ponytail held by an orange slice hair clip. I thought it'd be cool to experiment with different hair textures for her different alts, just to show how ranged her hairstyles could be. And to be honest, I think this is my more favourite look for her compared to her main outfit, but I didn't want to have another character with flared jeans, so I ended up swapping it to an alt. For a second alt, we have a much more brat sporty summer look, wearing a ribboned butterfly tank top with some green cargos tied with a fabric belt, arm warmers that she fashioned herself, and my favourite shoes of all time, these orange wedge sandals. All topped off with this tightly curled side ponytail, as I wanted the curls to sort of read as a reference to orange peels, and tie into her name and all. And while her mix and matching is a little more limited, since the dress sort of accounted for a top and bottom of one of the outfits, I still think they make for fun combinations, and I hope you like them too. Last but certainly not least is our final character for today, Lemon Meringue, our fourth protagonist and one of Strawberry's new friends. Like the others, she's also a core character in the series, and one of my favourite design characters in some of the series. I mean, her 2003 look was the it girl, and even Berry Bitty Adventures cooked with this one. However, she's always had the chance to experiment and be different with her character, so for her concept, I wanted to mix her up again, as well as have her fashion speak for herself, which is very much beachy chic. A little like a trendy surfer. Similar to Huck, I've always loved her hairstyle in the original, being really curly and in these cute two puffs. So I wanted to try and mix up her hair type again, since the other generations have only tried a straight texture after this. So now she has this big bundle of curls, partially tied with a crocheted fishnet bandana, pastel string tied blouse, chunky bangles, some flare corduroy trousers, with a line of ribbons crisscrossing all the way down, as expected, some chunky sandals, and of course she has to show off a flip phone. But with the concept explained, how about we hop into her character? Another one of Strawberry's new friends, having been introduced to each other via Huck at the beginning of the story, Lemon was actually on the fence about her, considering she's meant to be Huck's best friend now, not this stranger she's heard non-stop about. But she ends up coming around to Strawberry's sincerity and trusting nature, although she does get some enjoyment at how easy it is to tease her. Who knew folks on Berrywood could be so gullible? As you might have guessed, I'm bringing back Lemon's sharpness, as her character's been played around a bit between all iterations, being depicted as a bit of a diva in the 80s and 2003, but much more kinder and sensitive in Berry Bitty Adventures. But Berry in the Big City takes a whole new vibe, making her more tomboyish and stoic. On this channel, we always love a diva, so I wanted to bring back her zesty roots. So this time, Lemon's a little more sharp, dramatic, and loyal. She's always quick on her feet, quick to land a dig in, and quick to play her defenses if you ever even try and insult her or her friends. However, despite being a bit of a sour lemon, she still has a soft sweet side, mostly one that she keeps private to only her family and closest friends, such as Huck. Speaking of, you might have noted in Huck's section, I mentioned about Lemon being his cousin. Well, in my take, I made them related. Lemon's aunt is married to Huck's dad, with them moving to Berrywood before she was born. Although they did visit at least twice a year, so she knew of Huck, even if they weren't too close. It was once the Pies moved back to Fizzle Cove, after Lemon's mum passed, that they really became close. Both feeling like they'd lost everything, they ended up supporting each other, to the point they act more like siblings than cousins. Not that she needed another brother to deal with, she already has two older brothers, not to mention her dad sometimes acting like a child as is. That was mean to say, she loves her dad a lot, she just doesn't know how to express it sometimes, you know? While they live in a small bungalow, her oldest brother set Lemon up in a caravan on their driveway, so that she'd have her own space and privacy away from the boys. It's not like it was being used anyway, after he ended up scrapping his road trip plans to stay and help his dad out at the shack, so at least his little sister's taking care of it for him. Her family are the ones that own the Zest Fresh Cafe Shack on the boardwalk, a family business that was started by her granddad and passed down to her dad. They take pride in zesting up people's days with refreshing and energizing coffees and fruit smoothies, and adult nights where college kids and parents can grab a relaxing drink and meal. Although, the shop's been in a bit of an identity crisis since Mum passed, with her dad and brother conflicting about how to update or keep things traditional. Luckily, it hasn't impacted business too badly, or at least yet. Lemon tends to help out after school, mainly serving or running the till, although she gets stuck on cleaning duties on a bad day. But she's not always stuck at the shop. Being right by the beach, she takes advantage and is an avid surfer herself, mostly using it as an excuse to get away from land and the stresses there. On days with a low tide, she gets up early in the morning and searches the beach for the best looking shells, which she uses in her crafts, making different accessories and jewelry such as earrings, necklaces, and bracelets. One thing about Lemon, she can make a mean Scooby-Doo. People still know about Scooby-Doo, right? That's not like a reference that just went over people's heads or they thought about the dog, right? Ruh-roh! Oh. Yeah, because I mentioned Scooby-Doo, but Lemon's all about recycling and upscaling, making sure to repair and tailor her and her brother's clothes, since they don't exactly have the money to always buy consistently new things. She puts a lot of effort into her appearance and looking pretty, proudly sporting hand-me-downs that she modified to better suit her chic style, something she knows will change as she can feel a growth spurt coming along any day now. It won't. However, she thinks her braces really bring down the whole look. But it's better to have them now than later, so it's just something she has to deal with, and by all means, a completely normal thing to have. As mentioned in her concept, Lemon's got a flip phone, and it never leaves her side. As being a bit of a gossip girl, she's always catching the latest details from her sources across town, or in some cases, spreading. No drama can escape her camera. And here's Lemon all finished up.
Real nice toot, Ruby. Come here, you wingnut. A new do would have been fine. This could get us all in major trouble.
And I think she looks great. I think like Strawberry, I wanted to go for a more realistic, toned down look, and Lemon's just reads as something legitimately fashionable. I can't really decide if my favorite bit is her hair, her blouse, or how her bandana turned out, so I'll just say it's all three of them. If there's one change I could have made, it would have been the overall colors, as I was trying to do my best to avoid blues and restrict the greens. However, I think the pastel yellow on her top blends a little too much into her blonde hair. Not enough to be distracting, but enough that I notice it now, and you notice it now, and I definitely could have changed the values a bit. But other than that, I think she's perfect. But of course, can't forget her other outfits. I'm out of makeover clips. Yeah, good enough, there you go. Just like the others, I wanted to show off Lemon's range, but also have some more cafe and beach appropriate outfits. So, for her first ult, she's sporting a more cute business casual look, tying her curls into two thick bubble braids, framed by a lacy headband, a colourful sleeveless shirt, knee-length flared skirt with added bows, topped off with some strappy sandals. Then, for a second ult, she has a more casual summery look, sporting a hairstyle reminiscent of her 2003 look, a simple bandana, a baggy shirt tied up around a patented tank top, some denim shorts, topped off with some cute Mary Janes and frilly socks. And out of everyone, I think her outfit mix and matches are the most fun, and really show her fresh and fashionable style the best, you know? And with that, we're done with the first half of Shortcake's characters, and I hope you've liked it so far. It was a bit of a journey going through our favourite berries' history and iterations, but you made it through. My favourites are definitely Strawberry and Huckleberry. A little basic choices maybe, but I just think they capture their characters and the fashion styles really well. If I have to pick my favourite outfit ults, it'd definitely have to be Orange's second look and Lemon's second look as well. But now it's your turn. I'd love to hear which were your favourite designs down below, or even your favourite outfits. And for those with more keen ears, you might have picked up on me saying that this was the first half of characters. Well, let's just say I still have a few more members left to reveal, but do you think you could guess any of them? I also know to pitch something animated while presenting these crazy detailed designs as a basis is a little unrealistic. No one has the time or budget to animate these, although maybe if it was more of a 2D puppet rig like Ever After High or Tangled the series, it could work, but I'm mostly just drawing pretty pictures than practical designs. But with that in mind, I made some simplified versions. They're all a little more exaggerated in shapes and style, as well as utilizing patterns in a similar way to how Chowder did, where the image is moving over this big static texture. That way you still get some depth, but also a fun animation style. Also, sorry for disappearing for a bit and not getting a video out in June. Things ended up getting a bit busy for me between my work and social life, but my schedule's starting to clear up now, so hopefully I can get back into the swing of making videos again. But with all that out of the way, I hope you had a good time watching and have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. See ya!